Lads, hello you absolute lovelies. It seemed a lot of you liked what I had to say about Avatar Fire and Ash in my non-spoiler out of the theater review. So, with you guys encouraging it, I wanted to sit down and do a spoiler review. Full spoilers for the entire third act and beyond. The entire experience of Avatar Fire and Ash. Because a lot of the things I really loved about the film were in the third act, and I didn't feel like I'd really dive deep into them in that non-spoiler review. So, if you haven't seen the movie, please check out that review. And if you're new to this page, I cover movies, TV, comic books, lots and lots of comic stuff. This review is coming from the lens of loving genre culture and lots of fandoms, but not being that invested into the deeper lore of Avatar. I only know the movies. I don't follow the mythology all that deeply. I've only seen each of the films 2 to 3 times, and I've only seen this film once. So please, if you're like a diehard Pandora visitor, bear with me if I don't know a lot of the lore, and I kind of like that this gets to be a casual fandom for me, that I don't have all of the backstory like I do with Marvel, DC, Image, and all those things. So if you're into comics, if you're into movies, you're into TV, if you like pop culture, hit that subscription bell. Follow along on all my reviews and commentary journey. Also like this video, and please, most of all, leave a comment. I'd love to talk Fire and Ash with you, especially if you enjoyed this film as much as I did, this being my favorite of the Avatar films. Let's talk about it. Spoilers, 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 spoilers. This was my favorite of the Avatar films personally because it was, to me, the culmination of all the heart the second one sought to do that a lot of people felt. A lot of people's favorite one is The Way of Water. A lot of people understandably connected to the family elements of that film. Personally, I had a hard time finding my way into the family elements of the second film, but really strongly attached to them in the third. I'm going to talk about that here in a moment. But also, the heart of the second one meets the spectacle of the first. Obviously, the second one still has lots of spectacle, but there's nothing like the first time you see Avatar. There's nothing like that revolutionary element of this CGI, mocap, technology evolution that changed everything. And I thought, personally, this third film was a great evolution of that revolution. We've seen this stuff before. We've seen a lot of people adapt this technology, but this third film, I had almost as many moments of like awe and wonder and sheer visual splendor as I did with the first, but with the heart of the second that I connected to actually more. So for me personally, the family elements that I really want to dive into, I think having less members of the family worked. I think, when the brother died in the second film, I did not feel everything I wanted to feel. However, the moments of pure actual tension with the daughter connecting to Gaia and with the brother missing his brother and the adopted sibling elements, all of those things really worked for me in this film. And I really loved at the end of this third film that family element of adoption, Spider being brought into the family, and how the Neytiri's reluctance to have Spider as part of the family, like hatred and vitriol, and then her realizing that this must be part of our tribe, and also Jake basically being willing to do the unthinkable but not being able to do the unthinkable. That whole sequence really worked for me as a way of like symbolically showing how much of the tribe he was, in addition to Gaia making him part of the tribe by changing his actual physiology and making him breathe, which, by the way, I think was spoiled for me in a trailer. I'm not sure. I think I only saw one trailer and he was like breathing. And I was, the whole time, that ticking clock element was a little bit spoiled for me because I was like, I feel like I know this dude's gonna breathe. That's beside the point. It worked in film. I just wish I hadn't known or assumed it. But I really liked the family elements in this film. And then the third act, when we lose Kate Winslet's character, whose name escapes me, and I apologize, that felt like the loss that was important to the greater culture and the greater impact of them all being one big tribe. And the oneness I really love in this film, whether it's the oneness of them to the earth or the planet, whether it was the oneness of the different Na'vi tribes feeling like they protect each other, and the invaders of the Fire and Ash people, and how the water and these Na'vi like band together. I really like that we've got a lot of transformations of tribe, like there, and pardon this expression, I some sensitive viewers, and I don't mean to use this so flippantly, but I don't know an equal expression that doesn't have negative connotations, but I always loved that part of the element that our villain in Stephen Lang had, Quaritch had against Jake Sully, was his going native, which I think he even says in the first film, his betrayal of his people. And then they show in this third film the benefit of identifying with nature, and part of that is the culture of the Na'vi, and him seeing the benefit of how humanity is not the answer, that version of humanity isn't the answer, and how the Na'vi have some stuff going on, and him finding his type of Na'vi, his people, the people that are the Fire and Ash folk, they are basically his version of Na'vi, and how that along with the hottest animated characters since Jessica Rabbit, bring him to understand Jake a little bit more. And I really liked the third act. Not only is he maybe not reformed, but identifying with the nature elements in the Na'vi through violence, which is unfortunate, but he finds that connection to Jake in a different way. But I love that there's also that bond of like, my two dads over Spider. Like that scene of them both saving Spider, if you watch it closely, there's not a single move where they're both not required. Like it's an actual team effort to save Spider. And I thought that was really genius to metaphorically show teamwork and oneness and seeing a kinship with your enemy, because at the end of the day, enemies are not generally mustache twirling like just bad guys. They just see something strongly different than you, but there's going to be unifying factors. There's going to be a Venn diagram. And I think this film accomplished that way more than the first two did for me, as well as showing the importance of oneness. I love the stuff with Gaia and the reborn Sigourney Weaver character, the daughter, and it really worked for me in a different way than the second film, which I was just like, I don't really understand what kind of unnatural natural birth is happening here. I didn't really understand the way they were trying to help me see this like conception from nature. I liked the idea of it, I just didn't connect with how it played out. Here I liked it, and I liked how it played out, and it really worked for me to see the team and the family having to unite, the strength of all that to make this possible underwater, to make this connection, to have them save them. And I think the most beautiful moment of all of this nature fighting back that I've wanted since the first film. In the first film, we had nature through the Na'vi, right? It's very clear. The Ferngully elements, the nature versus man elements. In a lot of stories, it's man versus nature. Like that's one of the three big storytelling elements, right? There's man versus self, man versus man, man versus nature. What I've loved about Avatar from the beginning, even though this franchise hasn't hit for me as much as it does for other people, in this third film it is, because nature versus man is fascinating when you're siding with nature. And I'm a mostly hippie kind of fella, and I've wanted the strength of nature to be shown as it was in the first film, but a little bit more aggressively. Because a lot of times as soon as you think hippie, you think tree hug, you think a lot of the passive things, and I think we need, in 2025, a little bit more Rage Against the Machine hippie. I think there needs to be, and this is personal, politics and movies are intrinsic to each other, and I don't give a shit if you think otherwise. Cry about it, have fun, go nuts, comment, it helps the algorithm, I appreciate you. But the nature of art is a reflection of society, and if society is affected by politics, then art is reflected by politics, and politics reflect in the art. It's just how humanity works. Art is sharing your emotion and things about your life experience. When you make art, pieces of you are in it, and politics affect you. So I want more art to reflect 2025, how one of my big problems with the left is their toothlessness. A bunch of very, very seemingly weak-willed, fickle, and very malleable to a fault people. And I like that this movie says that's not going to work. And there is sometimes a need to be strong and to come back in the same way that you're being attacked, and to be smarter about it than your enemy. And I love in this that the whale people, the biggest impact I had in the second film was the whale entities being killed. And that broke me. It was really effective. And if you haven't seen the Modest Mouse Heath Ledger directed video, I highly recommend. Look up Modest Mouse Heath Ledger music video. It's about whalers, and the animation inverts the two, so it's whales hunting humans, and it really shows the atrocity of what we do on our planet to whales. Because we care about humans, we feel it more. I like when art can do things like that. Here, we've got these humanoid aliens, the Na'vi, and we've got these whales, and you feel so much for these whales in the second film. And I like that they have enough of that in the third film where you're gutted by what's happening to these creatures, but then they actually fight back. They're these ancient deities that are just, they do things the old way. The old way doesn't always work. We have to evolve, and I like that there's a nature versus man element where there is a fight back. There's the Na'vi uniting to take on these, human scum that are profiting off the death of these whales, and they're fighting back. And then you've got the Ash people coming in that have taken the wrong elements of humanity and like all the violence therein. There's so many commentaries to be made here. There's so many themes. And I do want to speak also to people thinking this is repetitive to the other two films. One, I think it hits the beats that it does have in common with the second film better. I've said that a few times in this video. But two, it is so funny to me how Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 are regarded as two of the best film and sequels ever. Like T2 is considered one of the greatest films of all time and easily one of the best sequels. T2 is beat for beat repeating T1 a lot of the time and improving upon it. That, to me, is what Avatar felt like. It's improving upon the last one. It's just a 2-3 versus a 1-2. Terminator 2, if you watch it back to back to Terminator 1, is literally moments of the first film reframed in a new way. That obviously isn't quite what they're doing here. It's not that extreme, but it is doing an improvement on some of those beats, and there's less of those beats repeated than I expected after hearing the negative criticism. I saw this the day before it was released. I did not see this wicked early. People complaining about those repetitive things. I didn't feel as much. Now, maybe it's because I didn't connect as the second one as much, and I've only seen it twice, so maybe I'm not remembering. I didn't watch it right before the third one. Maybe it is more repetitive, but I had no problem with the beats hitting again but harder, and I felt like it did a lot of the things that I wanted the first one to land on. So to be honest, for me, it goes 3, 1, 2 in order, and I see this as like a part 2 to the first film. Like 2 and 3 feel like a full arc after the first film. So I really liked this one. I really liked the return of Turok Maktu. I really liked the dragon elements of that creature coming back and what that meant, what that symbolized, the strength therein. I really enjoyed that. I really liked Quaritch's maybe changing. I liked Varang as a villain so freaking much. Quaritch, and he wasn't mustache twirling. I believed what he believed in for him. Like for that character, I believed what he thought he was doing was right. Enough. I mean, obviously he was evil, but enough that I believed the character would see those things. I liked his relationship with his son. I liked the two dads element. I liked that Varang in the end gets away with it. So if we get a fourth one, we get her back. I really think that most of this worked for me. It still has a bunch of dialogue problems. The writing still doesn't always work for me. It's still, I mean, it's not in my top like 10 of the year. I'm saying the positives about this film that I really enjoyed. But there are still some thinness issues. So I'm not saying this is like an A, but I do think it was a strong, strong installment in the Avatar franchise while being some of the greatest visuals I've seen this year. For visual splendor, it is an A. For awe and shock and wonder and technological prowess, A. For gobsmackingly good directing and just sheer skill and mastery of mise-en-scène, A. For some of the craziest like the POV stuff is so ingenious of the world he's built because you can lock camera to something that isn't even there and have actors act their act off. Yes, A. But the dialogue does drop it down. Some of the story elements does drop it down. I overall give this a 3.5 to 4 out of 5 stars. I overall am so glad I saw it in theater. I saw it in Dolby 3D. I personally don't usually like 3D, but James Cameron said Dolby 3D was the best way to see it. The colors were insane. It was some of the best projected 3D I've seen because it didn't get distorted by being in 3D. It didn't lose image quality by being in 3D because Dolby is powerful. I do, if I see it a second time, want to see it in 2D Dolby, though. I want to see the vibrancy of the color without the 3D, and I want to see how it feels in 2D because the color and wonder and awe and some of the Burning Man visuals were just staggering. Obviously, the fire stuff was beautiful. The water stuff continues to be great. The air stuff works for me better in this film. Those balloon things and the aerial shots and the turbulence as they descend in moments and like just the scope and paranoia of being so high. Felt a lot of stuff that I wanted to feel the second round, and I did feel this round. So a solid 3.5 to 4 out of 5 for me, and I really enjoyed it. So it might rank in my top 25 of 2025. I'm gonna do that video probably this week to release at the end of the year, which is only next week. So keep your eyes peeled for a top 25 of 2025 in 2 parts, a 25 through 11, then a top 10 for all the people that complain. Why don't you just do a top 10? I'm gonna, but it's gonna be a 25, and then the 10 is part 2. So top 25 of 2025 coming at you. This might make the 25. I need to look at it again. And also I'm gonna be doing a top 10 TV and a top 10 or 15 comics of the year. So if you like top lists as much as I do, stay tuned in this page, hit that subscription bell for all my top list stuff. And I love a nature versus man story when nature wins and when it actually has some teeth to win, and when it hopefully if it shows a couple people the error in their ways and, you know, infinite mining and infinite resource claiming and infinite destruction for the sake of humanity maybe is a problem on our Earth as well as the world of Pandora. And if a couple people watch this and feel a little differently, then it's well worth the art. And James Cameron, thank you for caring so much about our planet and for doing so much for it and making dope art accordingly. And what a ride these folks have been on for 15 years to bring us this story. So I had a fun time with it, and I hope you did too. Hope you enjoyed this review. Please leave a like. Please subscribe if you're not already. Please, in the comments below, let me know. And also, what a last line to end the movie on. I thought that was really funny. I forget what the actual line was from Spider, but I thought that'd be crazy if it was the last line. Then credits rolled, and I was like, there it is. So James Cameron, always bold. And yeah, I will not say that all the acting worked or all the writing worked, but I will say all of the visuals worked and a lot of the themes worked. So I had a good time overall. I think that's all the things. All right, I appreciate you. Like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you for Marty Supreme in the next couple days. I'm going to be reviewing it as soon as I can, and then I'll see you for some more lives about comics and for some top lists. All right, bye.